matter to its logical conclusion.
All right. With apprehension and mounting security concerns, Nigeria moves closer to the next round of off-season elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states on the 11th of November. The federal government and top military officials have issued a strong warning to potential troublemakers bent in disrupting the electoral process. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, conveyed this warning during a meeting with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. Meanwhile, INEC has raised fresh alarm over the challenges of difficult terrain and insecurity compounded by negative mobilization of political actors for the elections. INEC is going to be faced with difficult terrain. A state like Bayelsa, waterlogged, and to get they had to cross some areas to get materials into that area. And a state like Kogi State, from one local government to another local government, could cost 3-4 hours before you access, different parts of the local government to get materials and make sure that those people are not disenfranchised. It's a big deal today.
Yes, INEC is more concerned even about the security situation. Imo, for example, people are already predicting that the election could turn out to be a bloodbath. God forbid. We don't want to see that elections should be carnival-like in nature. People should be happy that, look, this is a day when we show our power, to put anybody that we want in government. When they become governors or whatever, they may not show respect to you again, but at least one day in 4 years, you're able to exercise that power, to elect the person of your choice. So it should be something that makes the voters happy, make the electorate happy. But a situation in which elections get turned to a warlike situation is not what we want to see, because we look at even countries around us. What we do to ourselves in the name of contesting elections, those countries don't do it. Many years ago, Nigeria was even helping some frontline nations, to put their foot on the ground politically. Some of their leaders were even here. Some of their leaders were here, staying in Nigeria. We took good care of them. Today, all those countries have overtaken us in many spheres of life. Politically, we are still crawling. The Nigerian politician, in my view, is to blame for the situation we find ourselves. People blame INEC and all that. If you say INEC is corrupt, who are the people who compromise INEC? It's still these politicians. If we say our elections are characterized by insecurity, who are the people behind this? It's still politicians who arm young boys and give them guns to use against one another. So the election in Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo, we have to secure our people sufficiently. People should not be allowed to die because some politician somewhere want to win by all means necessary. No. If you've truly worked for your people, you should not be afraid that you will lose an election. You should not be afraid. But if you've not worked for them, you force yourself on them and you've not even delivered, then you'll be scared that, oh, these people, they will not vote for me. We can't have a situation in which people will force themselves on us whether we like it or not. We need electoral integrity to take hold in our country. We need elections that on the international scale we can put up and say, yes, we had this election, I'm proud of the way this election went. But as I always say, it is the politicians that we need to talk to. INEC, yes, INEC has to clean up his act. But the role the politicians, the role they play in compromising INEC, in forging INEC document from EC8 and others.
Remember those cases that took so long?
We cannot wish away what these politicians are doing. That's why I look at some politicians in our country and I'm like, do these people really have conscience? The extent they go. The extent they go just to
Forging
win
court
an election.
judgments.
Yes, they forge. They even forge
Judgments.
withdrawal letters. Labour Party, they were forging people's withdrawal letters. People did not withdraw just for them to be able to put in their own favored aspirants. Later, they too will be talking about forgery. You forged it. Not even the case was in court. And the national chairman was suspended. No, they can't deny it. I keep saying it. I let anybody come and say they lied. It's there. You forged it. You are going around like a King Kong, but you forged. And the police preliminary investigation that they submitted to the court affirmed that they forged. What are we talking about? So why would you go to the extent of forging people? A candidate in Ebonyi, you forge his withdrawal letter, and the man said I did not withdraw. Is a forgery, can forgery be better than that? If we are even to grade forgery, the extent to which politicians go, they are the problem. They are the problem everywhere. They are the problem. And when you give people guns to go and kill one another, later on, those guys, after the election, you abandon them, they will use those guns to become armed robbers. They are our problem.
Now, Emeka, when you want to look like a state like Imo, that you have activities of separatist organizations, the IPOB, and the guy in the Finland, I saw even one show of us that the guy said they will make sure that no election is conducted in Imo State, and ahead of all this. So a lot of people are even afraid that the interior part not even aware itself that.
Oh, there's Osu and all those places.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that the security situation in Imo State has degenerated.
So that will discourage people from coming out.
In some areas, you don't even know who the criminals are, who are those behind some things, because there are certain places like between Obako and Ejimeku, around near Owerri, there is a particular place, there is a particular location where different identities, of kidnappers have been, raised concerning, the kidnapping of people at that place and in different areas. So I think it's not just for the military to come out and be warning politicians. We've heard all those warnings. We will hear that the military will deploy thousands of people, civil defense, police, and all that will deploy thousands of operatives. And at the end of the day, we still see these politicians and their thugs managing to get through these things. The point, what I prefer is work on the ground. And for the military to be threatening, to be warning politicians in a democracy, I don't agree with that. I think that should be the job of the police, being in charge of internal security, because the military cannot get close to polling units. So let them do their work on the ground quietly. Pick all those elements, those whom they have confirmed that yes, these ones are planning to disrupt the election. You can move quietly, dislodge them, and make sure that they cannot. If there are those who have made threats, identify them and let the place be safe, so that you don't even have a problem of low voter turnout. Because is even as bad as this violence. But nobody wants to go out to go and vote and get shot.
They are even saying that in Imo, for example, the INEC buildings that were destroyed, that nobody tried to repair them, they just left them like that.
Yeah, well, those things were really unfortunate, because even if you look at in Anambra, police stations that were raised down, philanthropists came, rebuilt them, and some people still came back and burned them down. So that forced different towns, to now set up their own vigilante outfits to say, okay, this is our territory. You cannot come here to be destroying buildings and all of that. Do you want to turn this place to a byline? Which is what has happened to some areas. People have fled those places. It cannot continue.
And elections will hold in those communities.
It's holding those communities. So let the security
places that are not safe
go to those places.
Can we truly hold elections in those? Because if I recall what happened when INEC conducted off-season election in, I think, Bakura in Zamfara, they listed a long list of wards that they said they would not go to. So because those places were bandits infested, so how do we then do elections in those places? If INEC on its own say, look, we are not going to this such place, I suspect that even in Imo there will be places that INEC would deem too insecure to go and to conduct elections.
No, but can they use?
There is the people who lose.
Can they use the formula they used in Anambra during the governorship election? There was a way they worked out the security. They worked around the security situation.
They had to move
because
Anambra,
you were in Anambra State.
They had to move all the formations in the southwest and some neighboring states.
Because it was Anambra alone. Now you are going to have elections in three.
Well, out of 36.
And we state like Kogi that is.
But what I'm saying is that they can try something. Maybe if not totally what they did in Anambra, but something close to it. Because even people were surprised that I look at the turnout, and then...
Don't also forget that a few days to the election, some leaders in the southeast got IPOB to say, look, you can go and vote. Because they were saying before that there will be no election unless there was a referendum. But they got them to announce, I think 4 days to the election, to announce that, look, you can go and do your elections. We are not going to...
They can still do that. They can still do that. I think anything that will make... Because the turnout wasn't on 40% or something. Whatever will make this process...
If people are guaranteed of their security, they will come out. So I think that statement at that time... unfortunately, some of the people who made it happen are no more, like Amechi.
Yes, Amechi.
But we still have prominent and well-respected people in the southeast, like Eze Chukwemeka Eri from Enugu Aguleri. He was one of those who met
Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes, they went to meet him, along with this lawmaker who recently defected to APC. Ifeanyi Ubah. They went to meet him, and he said, look, at this point, nothing like sit at home anymore. He got that commitment from him. So they need to talk more, get more people, such people to maybe engage with these guys.
They should do that.
Once the people have assurance of peace, the turnout will be much better.
Okay, I have on the line Colonel Hassan. Thank you for joining us, sir.
No, it's not a colonel.
Okay, our friend Awal Hassan. Awal.
Ayo, how are you? How are you?
Go ahead, please.
How are you, Ayo? Good afternoon. Ayo, please, I'm contributing on a Netflix issue. Sorry, I'm coming late.
Okay.
Ayo, I think with the way... Hello? Can you hear me, Ayo?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Awan.
With the way the guest, Emeka, I think, is speaking, I think we should just forget about fighting corruption in this country. He is talking about democracy. If Emefiele can do a quarter of what he has done in Nigeria, in the US, he could have been facing a firing squad. There is no country that Apex governor, somebody heading the Apex Bank, will mess like Emefiele did to our CBN, and people are still saying he's not been treated fairly. He should save a firing squad. Somebody that printed 19.6 trillion naira unbudgeted, printed money and gave it out to people, corrupt people like him, cohorts of corruption. And we are now saying, in fact, TVC journalists hang out. It took us almost 1 or 2 months speaking against his evil policy of Naira redesign during the campaign. People died. People took their wives or children to hospitals. They hadn't cash to pay, and those people died. What would you say about that? Why are you even saying DSS doesn't have the right? Oh, the president, Babajide was saying the president doesn't have the power to start. How can a president have the power to appoint, but he will not have power to start? We need to go to the Constitution and be reading about powers of the president. Who is Emefiele? Emefiele should save a firing squad. This guy has messed our country. In the 9 years he's been in CBN, there is no statement, there is no financial statement of the CBN. He bastardized our economy. That is the reason why we are where we are today with dollar 1,200 naira or 1,500 naira. It is because of the money, too much naira he gave people in their hands that is pursuing so little dollar. It is not the making of this government. Why would anybody come out to be defending people like MSA? I'm just so angry.
Thank you for your contribution.
I'm surprised.
And, yes.